Welcome everyone to our 2025 Frank's Finest preseason top players list for Section 1B football. I'm your host, Frank Langella. Welcome. Now, before we dive into all the different players, just if you're new here, what this is our preseason top players list. We'll be choosing between 11 to 13 players on offense, on defense, and we will choose a special teamer who we believe deserves to be what's called Frank's Finest. And how we choose these players is a culmination of things. The number one thing is film. So we watch a lot of film. Film is the most important to me when selecting players. We also talk to coaches. So we get coaches' input. That comes into part of our decision as well. And finally, stats. I know stats are an important indicator, not as important to me as the first two, but we do include that in our evaluation. And obviously, this is our opinion. I know some people will agree with them, some people will disagree with them, and that's okay. If that motivates you, that's even better. Because the football season can really change. But this is our decision. And now, before we dive in, if you haven't done so yet, hit that thumbs up, hit that sub button to help support the channel. Also, it'll notify you about future content that's dropping for Section 1 football. And also, if you want to help the group, consider becoming a Patreon member. There's a free member list, which we put in, updates on future content, announcements. And there's also paid membership where you get exclusive content. With that, let's dive into our list. And this is again for Section 1B football. And we're going to start at the quarterback spot on offense. I will do offense, then defense, and we'll start at the quarterback spot. And this was a tough one. I mean, B has some real quality quarterbacks this year coming back that performed at a high level. So this evaluation was not easy. I enjoy doing these lists and hate it at the same time because you have to make tough decisions. But with the quarterback spot, we're going to go with TJ Lanise, the senior from Pearl River. And this young man, 6'4", 190 pounds. Last year really stood out by the time, they started with kind of going back and forth with different quarterbacks, and then he kind of took over, completing 74% of his passes. And he has a really strong arm. I mean, he can deliver the ball when his feet are set at each level of the field, including outside the numbers. And towards the sideline, he can deliver it with some touch and some power. So really impressive, but he also showed that, he can move around a little bit. He's not a statue in the pocket. He can buy himself some time, even on some off-platform throws, some impressive touch with some of his throws, especially off-platform. So you can tell the young man has definitely a strong arm. He was a big-time player for them last year, and he is our Frank's Finest quarterback for 1B this year. Now let's move to the backs, and this is a mix of running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and we'll start with running back Amadi Dulcine, the senior from Ardsley. This young man at 6 foot, 190 pounds, we know he's fast. We talked about this a lot. He's fast, explosive. He gets to that second level. It's tough to slow him down. And I thought at times in the beginning of the year, things were a little bit slow for him because I felt like he was trying to hit the home run. But he started to take what the defense gave you and run with some power. And, that mixture of some power and some speed there and just being more patient, you really start to see him explode as the season went along. And he is definitely one of the best backs coming back and deserves a spot on this list. Next up, running back and wide receiver, I'll call him athlete, Justin Parkes, the senior from Hen Hud. And maybe not a ton of people know about him yet in B, but they should. This young man is not big. He's about 5'6", but he had close to 700 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns, 235 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. He is very, very explosive. Once he gets to that open field, he's another guy who it's tough to slow down, but I really like his elusiveness. He makes people miss, and even with the lack of his size, he still finds ways to play through contact at times, right? He has some solid balance to him, but he makes guys miss, and like I said, he gets to that second level, and he is a big play waiting to happen, and he has deserved a spot on our list. Next up, let's talk wide receiver Patrick Ryan, the senior from John Jay Cross River. And I'd say he's one of the best route runners in the area at the wide receiver spot, and especially this class. And mix that with some solid speed here, and that's how he generates a lot of separation. He also has very reliable hands. He can catch the ball away from his body. He's got good body control. He knows where he is on the field, and he's not uncomfortable when defenders are on him, right? He can make catches through contact. which is so important for a receiver, the big-time receivers to do, and he deserved a spot on this list. Next up, let's talk about running back Nick DiNapoli, the senior. Next one from Westlake. And this young man, he really exploded on the scene last year. 890 all-purpose yards and 10 touchdowns. And he lines up at the running back spot. But he can also line up at wide receiver. This is another guy who can run some routes. He's explosive, gets to that second level, and he's really smooth. I mean, this is a guy who really benefits from counters, outside runs, whether it's jets or sweeps, because he puts so much pressure on your defense to contain. And if you do not, he will make your life miserable. Defender's life miserable. He'll make the offense hum along. But, you know, he has been super, super impressive. I was really impressed again with his ability to hit that sixth gear so quickly, you know, and you saw that on tape a ton, and he definitely deserves a spot on this list. Next up, it's going to be wide receiver and running back William Boogie Birch, a great name there, the junior from Briarcliff Hamilton football program. And this young man, 5'10", 190 pounds, and he can line up in multiple spots. I love his versatility. Does most of his damage at the wide receiver spot, especially in the slot, but he can line up on the outside. And this is another young man who is smooth. He has really good body control. He's really knows how to attack the ball at its highest point. So he's got real good ball skills, really smooth, a solid route runner, and he made some big plays for this offense last year. He's also a real good returner. So this is a guy who can attack. He could be a benefit for the offense multiple ways. And I do think if he works on his body even a little bit more, you'll see even more of it. So this is a guy who made some huge plays for their offense, versatile guy, and he deserves a spot on this list. All right, and finally, we got one more back, and I know this one might be controversial, but I'm going to go with Braden Richardson, the running back from Sleepy Hollow, and I say controversial because he's been marred by injuries the last 2 years, but I still think when he plays, he's one of the best backs in the class. He's got good size, he's got good speed. When he gets to that second level, he makes people miss. I just think it's been so unfortunate that if you see the tape of the games he plays, he puts on a show, but he just hasn't played a ton of them. And I know that's a little bit controversial, maybe some other guys, but I'm going to go with who I think could be the best back, one of the best backs in the class, and that's why I'm going to put Braden Richardson to Sleepy Hollow here as the last back. All right, let's go to some linemen now. First up, let's talk about Dylan Gosh, the senior of Byram Hills. So he's first on the lineman on this list. Not a very big guy, but when you look at how the season went along for Byram Hills, offensively, things were up and down in the beginning, but the last 4 games of the regular season, what were they scoring, 26-plus points? And to me, it started with his offensive line really stepping up, and he's been a part of it. Not a big guy, but he's scrappy. He can move his feet. He could seal defenders. So to me, stays engaged with the defenders is some of the notes that I'm reading from watching film. And I love it. I love those scrappy guards. Not everyone's going to be 6'3", and he's a smaller guy, but he drives his feet, he seals guys off, and he wins his reps, and so he deserves a spot on this list. Next up, let's talk about offensive lineman Brendan Buckley, the senior from Pearl River. This young man, big-bodied kid. So I mentioned a smaller guard last time. This time, 6'1", big-bodied kid. And when you're playing in that Pearl River offense that was really good at running the ball last year, you got to be able to pull, down block, move people at the point of attack. And he was one of those people who could do that. And he's coming back. I really like, again, when he went up against those bigger defenders, he really held up well with down block or drive blocks, moving people at the point of attack. The smaller guys, that's when he kind of can engulf you and control you with his hands. So big-bodied kid. Really liked what I saw he did in the run game. In the pass game, you know, he's not the fastest guy, but he held up well. And I think he deserves a spot amongst the top offensive linemen in this class. Next up, offensive lineman Ben Pollock, the senior from Pelham. 6'1", 250 pounds at the guard spot. And again, this offense, you got to be able to pull, you got to be able to trap, and you got to be able, pull and kick out and pull and seal. And, you know, I thought he did those 3 blocks pretty damn well. And he had a lot of strong reps where he's moving guys at the point of attack. whether it's defensive tackle, where he gets to the second level and he uses some powerful hands to hit people. He also showed the ability, again, trapping is going to be super important, where your head is lined up. So he had some really strong reps that I saw for Pelham and that offense, and he deserves a spot on this list. He's also tough to disengage once he gets his hands locked in. So once he gets his hands inside, he is tough to disengage, and that's when he can control the defenders and finish. And he did a solid job of that. He deserves a spot on this list. Next up, offensive lineman Anthony Negrelli, the senior from Westlake. 6 feet, 220 pounds. I feel like he's bigger than that. I feel like that's a mischaracterization, but he is physical. He is strong. He is physical. He crushed people last year, down blocking or drive blocking. He had, this was another offense that was really good at running the ball, and for that, you need linemen who can move people, and he is one of those guys that did that. And what I really like, too, is they ran a ton of jet sweeps as well. You need linemen who'll be able to hook that edge defender, the initial edge defender, and he showed that he could. And I actually really like Anthony on tape. A two-way player, but on that offensive line, he showed the ability that he can seal the edge, or not steal the edge, he can hook that edge defender, and he can drive people at the point of attack. He deserves a spot on this list. Finally, to wrap things off, we have another Westlake offensive lineman, Luan Salage, the senior center, and 6'3", 230 pounds. And usually it's hard for those big centers because, again, you're snapping and trying to block, but I tell you what, he plays with good leverage. He knows how to get underneath the defensive lineman, really knows how to drive his hips and feet, and he finishes well. He had a ton of pancakes at the center spot. It's not easy to do. When he double teams with his guards, he excels at it. He's shoulder to shoulder. They really push people at the point of attack. Whenever they're pulling, he's got a down block or block backside. And he had some real impressive reps that I saw. And I think he's actually one of the better centers, and that's why he's on this list as one of the top offensive linemen. He deserves a spot. Let's now move to the defensive side of the ball. And we'll start with the front defensive linemen and linebackers. We're going to combine them into one group, and that includes D-ends, D-tackles, edge defenders, inside linebackers, outside linebackers. And first one up is Evan Matt, the senior from Ardsley, number 71. 6'3", 215 pounds. He had 14 tackles for loss last year, including a couple sacks. And I love his long arms. He's got those long arms. He moves pretty well laterally. And he's really not easy to hook. Again, it's tough to get to his outside shoulder. That mixture of his length and his lateral quickness. He did a really good job of stopping sweeps. And also, when as Ardsley made its run to a championship, they really improved on stopping the run. And it started with stopping the outside run. That they had really good success. And even though he's long and he's not, again, 215, so he's pretty lean, he held up well at the point of attack when they tried to drive him out, and he deserved a spot on this list. Next up is defensive end defensive tackle Peter Hill, the senior from John J. Cross River. He's a great example. He's not the biggest guy, he's not the fastest guy, but boy, he is scrappy, and he has a nose for the football, and he gets after it. I really like, again, using his hands, disengaging blockers. Even when plays away from him, he chases it down. I love the effort and motor that he played with, and he was always around the football. And I do think, I love the versatility as well. And I love defensive linemen who can move from a defensive end spot, go into the defensive tackle spot, and vice versa. And he shows that he can do that. Versatile football players are my favorite, and I think he's earned a spot on this list. Next up, defensive lineman Michael Diffley, the senior from Nanuet. He is explosive off the edge. Again, not a super big guy, but he's physical. He stands up at the line of scrimmage like an edge rusher, and he has a nice inside move here. He can beat those slow tight ends or beat those slow tackles inside, and he caused a lot of penetration for that Nanuet defense. They've had some scrappy players in the past. Graduated quite a few as well, but he stood out to me on tape. He, again, good in the inside. He can also chase plays from backside, was an active pass rusher in passing down situations, and I think he's earned a spot in this list as well. Next up is Dustin Rita, the senior from Pelham. This young man, 6'3", 215 pounds, committing to John Hopkins football, and I really like, he's well-rounded. As a pass rusher, those slow offensive tackles, he can beat you around the corner and dip his shoulder, turning around the corner, get to the quarterback. He can make an inside move. He's long, right? So it's hard to get to his shoulder again. Those long arms, he can extend his arms out. Tough to run around him. He showed some well-rounded aspects in the run game and as a pass rusher. And again, really active defensive player for them. And I think he definitely deserved a spot on this list. Next up, great football name here is Hawkeye Clampett, the senior from Pleasantville. This young man's maybe about 5'10", 200 pounds. And, you know, he'll line up at nose guard, he'll line up at D tackle, and where he runs, he can shoot that gap, right? He's got a good start to him, can beat those slow linemen, get in between the gaps, cause some penetrations. And what impressed me, though, when I was watching him, is when you can't win with speed, you know, and they're double teaming you, or they cut you off and maybe you can't beat him on that first step, you really have to anchor down. And he did. He wasn't easy to move, even when double teamed. So he showed good strength at the point of attack, the ability to anchor down when people are double teaming him. And, you know, he was a pleasant surprise to watch on tape, and he's earned a spot on this list as well. Finally, defensive tackle and defensive end, Tyler Gualtieri, the senior from Briarcliff Hamilton football program. 6'3", 220 pounds. He was on our list last year. I love his scrappiness. I love his versatility. He'll line up at defensive end. He'll line up at defensive tackle. Long arms. And again, probably their most active defensive lineman over the last couple years, and I've just seen him constantly progress. Last year, it was mostly focused at defensive tackle. You saw more reps at defensive end, and he got those long arms. He's hard to move, hard to get outside. He's not the fastest guy, but at the point of attack, he holds up pretty damn well, and once again, I think earned a spot on this list. Next up, linebacker Jonah Christie, the senior from Ardsley. 6'2", 215, good size outside linebacker, and he's explosive. He had 69 tackles last year, 3 sacks, and an INT, and he can really hit you. He had a couple forced fumbles as well. He can really line you up, hit you. I also love that play side against the run. Tough to run around. Again, Ardsley was doing a really good job of stopping those outside runs as they made their run in the championship. He was a big part of that. But also on the backside, he does a good job of filling in the backside gaps on cutbacks. You see that on tape as well, making some big plays there, and he's earned a spot on this list. Linebacker Matt Pippo is the next one, the senior from Westlake. One of the leaders on this defense. This defense was really good last year, and they revolve around speed, and he's one of those guys. He gets to the ball quickly. He's a plus tackler in space, and I do love, again, you can set the edge out in space, but also bang around inside the tackle box. He shows that he's able to do that. One of the better defensive players that I watched on their team last year is back this year. Definitely earns a spot on this list. Then we have this kind of hybrid outside linebacker, strong safety. Braden Feeney, the senior from Pleasantville, and he, not many maybe know, but he was third on the team in tackles last year, over 80 tackles. And he did a really good job of setting the edge and finishing tackles and containing at times. And he also wasn't uncomfortable going out in coverage. He had 4 pass deflections, I believe. So this is a young man who can get to his spot, showed that he was a positive tackle. He was very active in this defense, this Pleasantville defense that also made the run to the section title game. And he was a good part of it, a surprising part of it. And he's definitely earned a spot on this list. Finally, we go to that back end, adding to, Braden acts as that strong safety. Now we go to the next one, which is Peyton Francis, who's a corner, senior from Ardsley. And I do think he's one of the best cover guys coming back this year in the class. 5'10", 160 pounds, had a couple INTs. He is fast. He has fluid hips. And even when you beat him initially, he's got really good recovery speed and good ball skills. I mean, he could play man. He can go out on an island against your top receiver. This is a well-rounded corner. To me, one of the best cover guys in the section. And he definitely has earned a spot on this list in Peyton Francis. Next up, Jack Hitsley, the senior from Hen Hud. This is a multi-sport kid who plays basketball, and he's a good athlete. This is another one who got good technique. He knows how to get into good position, recover from bad position. He's also not afraid to tackle, which is going to be really important as a secondary. If you have a good run-stopping defense, you have to have secondary guys who can get active in the run game. He does that as well. Some big expectations coming up in this year. I think he was an all-league last year, and I anticipate after watching a tape that he could take another step this year and has earned a spot on this list. Finally, to round it all up, we have Danny Fitzgerald, the senior from Pearl River, an active defensive back. I saw positive things on tape both in the passing game and in the run game. He is active in both, scrappy player, not a very big guy, but again, Pearl River had a strong defense last year. He is a big part of it. I love his activity. Good, solid range to him. Makes up for some of the lack in size, but he's also earned a big spot on this list as well. And to wrap things up, we have the special teams player. Kicker and punter is Jaden Zipper, the senior from Byram Hills. Committed to New England football. He is a strong punter, directional punter, which is always super important when it comes to field position. And also as a field goal kicker, I think from an in-game perspective, he has the capabilities of hitting 40-plus yarders. I know sometimes probably in practice they'll hit even 50 yarders, but I'm talking in-game, which is, again, really clutch to have and an important aspect. And Jaden has earned the special teams player for this year. And with that, guys, we will close this out. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, make sure to hit that thumbs up, hit that sub button, and we will see you all very soon.